Yes, hello everyone. Paul Ashkady, Cúilín Media. Welcome back to the show for another weekend preview. It's myself, Seamus Brady, joined by Matthew Hurley. Matthew, we've got an interesting pot to look through here now this week. We obviously have action taking place as we speak in the college competitions in the Sigerson and the Fitzgibbon. We have the O'Byrne Cup and the FBD League, and over in Connacht we have action taking place in those competitions as well. And then we also have the intermediate club finals and junior club finals to look forward to this weekend. No senior club action, which obviously the indication that we're nearly at the finish line with the club championships 25-26. How we keep them on?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I suppose the intermediate and junior finalists get the recognition they deserve in many ways. Out of these 8 finalists, actually, I think 5 of them are from unique counties, and then you have 3. You just have 2 or 6 from unique counties, and then you have just 2 from Kerry, just hanging. Ballymagilligan and Ungale planning to do the double. Dingle obviously planning to do a treble with Kerry football, but we'll see if they can do it next week. It's going to be a very interesting weekend. Obviously, I am closer to one of the games in particular out of the 4 this weekend. Obviously, with Kilbritton's junior final, a lot of work in the previews got into the Southern Star this week from Kieran's pieces. I did a few preview pieces on this as well, and it's just been brilliant. And I suppose the village in Kilbritton is absolutely bouncing this week. They're preparing for a junior final, and it's massive for the community. It's massive for every community involved here, like Eastkey, Tureen, Upper Church, Drumban, obviously the 2 from Kerry, Ungale and Ballymagilligan, and obviously the 2 up in Ulster, Clocker and Glenullen. So it is going to be an interesting weekend, and it's great to see the eyes are going on these competitions. And I suppose with the Sigerson and Fitzgibbon, less so the Fitzgibbon, because I would say there was comprehensive wins, if anybody seen them last night. But the Sigerson, a lot of interesting results, particularly the Ulster University one, I think it really catches the eye. But in particular, the Ulster University players that weren't allowed to play, apparently, which could be a bit of a controversy there. So yeah, a lot to delve into, despite the fact there's no senior action. Well, there's the pre-season competitions, but I suppose when you look at what happened last week, they're probably thrown into chaos, aren't they, Seamus?
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very interesting. There's like a spectrum, as you were saying. We had an in-depth discussion about this last week, but on the same weekend that we had, like say, the Dublin Hurlers naming 5 of the starters that started in last year's All-Ireland semi-final against Cork, taking it very, very serious. We had, a coin toss decide other competitions and everything like that. There was a really wide scale of how serious different counties were taking it. And that is 100% down to, that's down to the pressure that the competitions are under. That's down to like the doubts about how necessary they are for the calendar and everything like that. So we were saying on last week's show that we're stuck in this weird little gray area, and it's like, okay, either the GAA needs to go all in on getting these as part of the calendar, move the league back, move the finals back into August, or scrap them, move the leagues a little bit further into January, give that space between the league and championship and keep the finals where they are. But one way or another, the current status is like you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you kind of make a hash of it in both ways. So that's kind of what we were saying last week on the show. Our good pal Peter Griffin is leading the way in terms of the comments. If you are new to the show, guys, get involved in the discussion. Let us know what your highlights of the week of sports have been so far, because obviously we had the Sigerson action on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we have big club action taking place this weekend as well as the national leagues dooming ever closer. We can't wait for that as well. We got something special to announce as well. At this moment, it is an appropriate moment to announce this. We will be doing a full in-person preview show for the leagues in 2026. Myself, Matthew, Liam and Aaron have found the studio. We've rented it out. We're going to have the full in-person shots. It's going to be a first on the Cúilín Media page, and I absolutely am buzzing for it. Matthew, it's been a long time coming. Myself and yourself, we've done live shows in the studio before, but never for Cúilín Media. So this one's going to be fun.
It is, and you mentioned the ones that we did with a sports show, I suppose, with our good friend Dan Casey. That was a lot of crack, yeah. I would say. A lot more viewers, maybe a lot more hate, I'll put it that way, going towards us. But I suppose this is a new venture. It is great to to have this in particular before the league season does kick off. And a lot of, I would say, a lot of interesting calls to make when you look at how the league is going to shape up with hurling, obviously the NGFA, and obviously with men's football as well coming around the corner very, very quickly. It is going to be interesting to see how all of us predict the league this year. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for it, man. I can't wait. Peter saying, hey lads, after the fallout from last weekend's cancelled games, Westmeath GAA went on a bit of a legal crusade with a big statement. Kilkenny County Board replying in kind, just farcical now. One assertion is that Kilkenny would have played a Lee McCarthy County on that Astro pitch in Lomans. I don't agree with that. I like my first reaction to it when I heard it, when Derek Ling refused to let the Kilkenny team play because they were warming up in a car park. My immediate reaction was fair enough. Like, I don't see any problem with that. I don't really know enough about the situation to comment strongly on it, but just that there to say that you would have played a Lee McCarthy team, I don't think so. I don't think that's correct. It's a pre-season competition that clearly the way it was put together to end up with Kilkenny training in a car park on concrete, that's farcical. And I think once it gets to that stage, whether they want to play the game or not, that's completely up to them. And a little spat between the two county boys before the championship begins it's not pretty.
It isn't. And I think, look, if Daddy, well, I'd struggle to find that being true, to be honest with you, because last night in the Munster Senior Hurling League, Waterford played against the Christie Ringside in Kerry. Yes, it was a hammering. Waterford absolutely tanked them in the end, but Waterford still showed them a lot of respect and fairness by playing them. And you had other teams playing, obviously Dublin playing Carlow last weekend, Carlow or Joe McDonough's team. So I struggle to believe that reasoning, to be honest with you. If it is true, I'd be like, wow, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't go full on because I don't know if that's fully true or not. But if obviously they were training in car park, that's the part we do know, and that's completely unacceptable. But what happened, what Peter was saying there, I'm not sure if it did happen. So yeah, it's very, very hard to judge there. But I struggle to believe Kilkenny would have just avoided playing Westmeath because they're not in Ian McCarthy. So I think that would have been completely back out of order if it is true.
Yeah, I think this competition seems to be the preseason competition seems to be where all the batshit stuff goes on. Like coin tosses deciding who gets through to the next round, a team winning a game and then folding immediately after. And then I just love the idea that they're just standing there like, what are we going to do? And then someone pipes up from the back like, well, we could train in the car park. Like, I love how kind of Wild West it is, but it still isn't acceptable for the level of the game that the players are at and the dedication that they give. That's why I'm saying, and that's what's caused by this kind of half in, half out situation. You either go all the way in or you're all the way out. And I think we need to go one way or the other here. That's my kind of stance. I've repeated it time and time again, but it is genuinely is. Peter says a chaotic circus of the GAA silly season. It's a nice way to put it. Big news here as well, Matthew. This came out since we did the last pod. Geelong have released Mark O'Connor for the final next weekend. Unfortunately for Kerry GAA fans, they have not released him. He will still go back over after the club championship is done, but he is going to play in the All-Ireland final as we anticipated that he would. How much of a difference does this make?
I think it's a massive coup for Diggle Verdes having Mark O'Connor there. I think he was the difference maker in many ways against Ballyboden last weekend, and he is an absolutely excellent player. You have to give credit to Geelong as well for allowing Mark to go back and play in the All-Ireland final. Like, they kind of had to, when you think about it, like, you let him play in a Munster final against the Bars, you let him play in an All-Ireland semi-final against Ballyboden, you have to let them play in the final now. It's as simple as that. Like, it's that kind of situation. And yeah, I commend Geelong as well for allowing Mark to go back in. And if Mark O'Connor was to win the All-Ireland, what a collection he'd have. I think he'd win an inter-county All-Ireland with Kerry and minors, and I think it was minor under 20 level, an AFL title with Geelong, and potentially a Club All-Ireland senior title with Dingle. It would be some CV from Mark O'Connor's point of view. You'd wonder if he'd go maybe 1 or 2 more seasons with Geelong and then go back to Kerry. I know that'll be a scary thought for the rest of the country, but he might as well do it because he's just achieved literally everything in the game, you have to say. So yeah, fair play to Geelong. I see a funny tweet during the week that Geelong, they're a professional team and they allow Mark O'Connor go back to play for his club, whereas certain intercounty teams aren't letting certain players play Sigerson Cup.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like the pro team is allowing someone to play with their club, yet the Ulster University boys aren't allowed to tug out.
Yeah, it's bad. It really is, and yeah, it's look. Maybe we should all learn from AFL and Geelong, and yeah, like if Mark O'Connor wants to play, let him play, and it's just, I think it's just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another piece of news that Peter's saying here: Hilo was on off the ball, lads, discussing his retirement. His hips are gone, needs surgery. Pity another county player leaves on medical terms rather than their own. Another massive blow for us with Miko, Daniel Flynn, and now Hilo gone. We are even more under pressure to cling on to spot 6 or 5 in the Division 2 table. It's a big loss for Kildare, no question about it. David Hyland was a consummate professional and really, really solid for Kildare over the last 10 years. Yeah, I feel like they're in a little bit of a transition period anyway, where they're kind of passing on to the next generation, kind of led by the likes of James McGrath, etc. But it still is a blow.
It's a massive blow. And when you look at Daniel Flynn leaving the battle as well, obviously Mick O'Grady is a massive loss to the Kildare team. Noel Kelly for experience as well. That's 4 big personalities in the Kildare team, and that is a big loss in fairness. But what I will say from a Kildare point of view, the younger lads have shown that they can play at the highest level. You look at Callum, not just James McGrath, but Callum Bolton is an excellent player. If Jimmy Ireland can just regain a bit of fitness, I think he is a serious player. You still have Kevin Feely about. If he can stay fit, he's a serious player there as well. So yeah, Kildare, they were under 20 champions a few years ago. Brian Flanagan's there. Obviously, David Burke's in the backroom team there as well. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine in Division 2. To be honest with you, look, it is a loss, but there's other players from a Kildare point of view to step up, particularly the younger lads. And the way they performed in the Tailteann Cup last year should breed a bit of confidence into Kildare football.
Yeah, and on top of that, another retirement is Niall Kelly, obviously another Athy player who has stepped away from the county panel, another blow. Peter, they're asking you, Matthew, where is Kilbrittain near? Like what big town? Or is it near a big town?
Yeah, if you count this is a big town, Bandon. Bandon is just I suppose in context for our listeners, Bandon is where Conor Howerhan, the former soccer player from Ireland, is from, and also Lyra, the singer, is from Bandon. So that's your trivia there, Peter. I'm just going to talk about Bandon now, am I? Or no, it's bad.
No, apologies, man. For anyone watching, I have a serious case of the flu. So I'm absolutely bet. But we needed to get this episode done for you. We couldn't let you down and not do an episode on a Thursday and a Sunday. That's our promise to you, that we get them out. And this one is exactly keeping with our message. So just looking at it here. So Tommy Dernan as well transferred to his third club. Peter saying as well, bit of mad. He's gone back to Westerns. That was his first club. He went to Inniskeen and RD in the meantime. Anyway, we are going to move into the recap of the action that we've had during the week, and then we're going to look ahead to the club championship action taking place this weekend. Starting off with a recap of the Sigerson Cup. So we had action on the Tuesday and the Wednesday. And the 3 results that took place on the Tuesday, DCU hammered Ulster University 3-13 to 8 points. MTU Kerry beat TUS Midlands 217 to 211. TUD then beat Dundalk IT 217 to a goal and 11. So they were the 3 results from Tuesday's games. What was your recap on them, and what did you make of the results?
The DCU one really stands out as a maybe stamping their authority, as many people may call us, on this competition, considering they won it last year. But I would say it's a complete shock considering we looked at the panels. We looked at the panels in terms of predicting the Sigerson Cup because that's what we base it on. You look at the quality of each team as per county and things like that. And you looked at specifically Ulster University's team and you think, wow, if these all play, they are a serious team. But DCU blow them all the water. But bit of context, Ulster University didn't have their players available. Like Owen McElhone wasn't there, Rory McCullough wasn't there, Owen McAvoy wasn't there, Rory Canavan, apparently he was named to start, but he actually didn't start in this game for some reason. So they were missing a whole host of talents, Ulster University. They only had, I think the only McGill from Down in the team, and a few others as well. I think McGarity for Tyrone. But other than that, very, very few, which was, it is worrying, I suppose, Seamus in particular, when you look at, I suppose, when you look at Derry in particular, when you look at Tyrone, not allowing their young talents play in these competitions is what it seems like. Like Rory Canavan hasn't played club football. Like Eric Kilkieran went out of the club championship in the semi-final to Trillick in Tyrone, I think in October, was it? So like he should have had ample time to prepare and get ready for this Sigerson Cup. But this is another thing with the pre-season competitions, and we talk about training in car parks and we talk about other things as well, like coin tosses. But this is another thing as well. I see the Tyrone and Armagh did draw good attendance in the McKenna Cup, but one thing I noticed in the starting team, Rory Canavan was there, and I was like, this is not good, because Ulster University have Rory Canavan, and if you're not allowing these players to play Sigerson Cup, what is the point of the Sigerson Cup if it does happen? Now, I don't want the Sigerson Cup to die like this, because it is a brilliant competition. It gets them players playing for their colleges. It's part of the college experience in many ways, Seamus. Both of us have been to college. Yeah. It just brings kind of a group of pals together, and it's just a brilliant competition. Whereas when you look at the pre-season competitions, I know Ulster take the McKenna Cup seriously, more seriously than many other counties. But at the end of the day, Seamus, it's a pre-season competition. It's not going to matter at the end of the day. What's going to matter for Tyrone is winning the All-Ireland and potentially getting out of Division 2. That's what matters to Tyrone, surely, not the McKenna Cup. So you'd have to question Tyrone there, why they played Rory Canavan against Armagh and didn't allow him play against DCU during the week. Owen McElhone, why didn't he play? Rory McCullough, why didn't he play? Like, it's just puzzling, I would say, from their point of view, Seamus. You had other players as well, like Kieran Daly was another Tyrone player, didn't play. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's very, very concerning. But back to the positives, Jack Tumulty from Roscommon had a very good performance in this one, 1-4 from play. Luke Barrett from Sligo came off the bench and got 1-2 for DCU, very good performance from him. And the two Dubs in Larkin O'Dell got 3 points for play, and Conor Dolan got a goal. So a really, really good performance by both of them, and a brilliant performance by DCU to open their campaign. MTU Kerry beat T West Midlands. It was a good win for them as well. Two Kerry boys stood out, and Keith Evans with 1-4, Darragh O'Connor with 1-3. Shout out as well to a Cork guy from Buttevant, David Hadlin, he got 3 points from play as well, excellent performance. And even for TOS Midlands, you had Matthew Whitaker of Westmeath scored 1-5, I think 1-4 from play, which is very, very impressive from him. And then TU Dublin against Dundalk IT. I was here, Dundalk IT had a mad sent off in the first half, which was quite a shame. In all honesty, Dundalk IT won the Trench Cup last year. They would have got into this competition with a lot of confidence, but TU Dublin turned it around in the second half with key performance. Jordan Morris had a good performance, obviously. Jamie Murphy from Meath as well. Stephen Moody had a good performance. He's a Monaghan footballer. So look, good performance there from TU Dublin, but they were kind of lucky that the red card did happen in the first half for DKIT. But I think the main story is just the exodus of Ulster University players, which is a shame, to be honest with you.
There must be a huge struggle going on behind the scenes between the counties and Ulster University themselves, because obviously Ulster University, by picking them in the panel, they obviously have intentions of getting them on the pitch. They obviously have intentions of playing them. And obviously the counties are stepping in and saying that, you know, you're not allowed to play them and stuff like that, or telling the boys themselves that you're not allowed to play. There was an instance, well, I remember it was a couple of years ago, or was it last year, that Conor Glass was down on the list to play for Ulster University, and then he didn't play a minute in the competition. Like, it's really weird. There's clearly some sort of clash between the counties, particularly it seems to be Tyrone and Derry over the last couple of years, that their players just don't play for us University, even when they're named in the panel. And yeah, like I get that the McKenna Cup has taken a lot more serious up in Ulster, and you cannot deny the crowds that turned up, the 7,500 that turned up for the first round in the McKenna Cup. Like, that's a serious turnout for this time of year. But that again goes back to what I'm saying, that like we should give a competition the spotlight at this time of year. We should, in my opinion, it should be Sigerson should be in the final stages now. We should run the group stages in November, then during the week, and then we should run the final stages in January, with GAA week as the last week in January, where the finals take place in Croke Park. Because you remember when we were in college, you had Rag Week, you had Freshers Week. The GAA finals weren't a GAA week, and I was in like DCU, which was such a sports-based college, but there wasn't really that much done around the finals. Like it wasn't impossible for you to not know about the finals. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't impossible for you to not even know the DCU are in them, and it should be everywhere. Like if we want to push that, it should be everywhere. The college competitions have such potential to be a huge competition, and I don't know, clearly there's an issue in terms of that. But maybe we'll discuss that another day. My thing would be the Sigerson finals take precedence during the week, and then the preseason competitions start in February. That's the way that I would be moving with it. And January is like the training month. They'd still be running, challenge matches and stuff like that, but it's a little bit harder to justify stopping a player from playing in the college competitions if it's just for challenge games and you have the league right around the corner. Peter says, agree, the unis need to do more really to promote and highlight the Sigerson and Fitzgibbon. I do agree. A GA week sounds class. Yeah, that would be unreal. Like I would have absolutely loved that. Imagine like buses going from the college down to Croke Park. Like imagine if Ulster University, when they're in the Sigerson final, got buses down to Dublin for the day, like, and anybody who wanted to be part of it could, book onto the bus, and imagine one massive college weekend up in Dublin or something if they win. That would have been unbelievable. But anyway, that's the Tuesday. Moving on then to the Wednesday in the Sigerson Cup, continuing our little recap of it. We had 5 games from the Sigerson on the Wednesday. We had UL, who beat MTU Cork by 17 points to a goal and 9. And then UCC beat ATU Sligo 318 to 15 points. Maynooth beat St. Mary's by 122 to 120. Queen's beat University of Galway 114 to 11 points, while UCD beat ATU Galway by 312 to 10 points. And you put up the recap of this on the Cúilín Media and Gaelic Statsman Instagram pages. So if you're watching and you don't follow, do check them out. It's across all social media platforms under the same name, at Cúilín Media and at Gaelic Statsman. Matthew, on the Wednesday games, which ones stood out to you? What details stood out to you as well?
UL beating MTU Cork, it was a good game when you looked at it that way. Mayo's Frank Urban got 5 points, 4 for play. Cathal Keaveney also from Mayo really, really impressed off the bench with 3 points. I thought Charlie King was very good from a UL point of view. He seemed very good. He is a very good player from a Tipperary point of view with underage as well, and he will be an impressive player for UL. I suppose this is something for, I suppose, from a post kind of standpoint. I think Jerome Quinn put up earlier, and this is pretty close to where I live as well. This is West Cork brothers, Paddy O'Driscoll and Keith O'Driscoll. So Paddy O'Driscoll was number 5 for UL, and Keith O'Driscoll was number 10 for MTU Cork, and they marked each other in the game. Like, they're brothers, and I think
It must have been an interesting breakfast in the family home.
Geez, it was. I'd say definitely. I think it definitely was. To be fair, and yeah, look, there are 2 good players from Gabriel Rangers around the Ballyhob area, and yeah, it was a good interview that Jerome Quinn did with both of them actually afterwards at Higher Education. It was a very good interview. I think Jerome Quinn quote as well. We talk about first class rivals. it's going to be first class families here, because like, this is unreal. You wouldn't have seen that. But look, that's another special thing about college competitions, isn't it? You get these kind of stories that you wouldn't get anywhere else, and it's just brilliant, to be fair. Look at the other games. UCC beat ATU Sligo 3-18 to 15 points. Scorpio said Connor Daly got 3 goals and 4 points, but other sources said he got 2-4 in this game, while Owen Corcoran of St. Mary's got the other goal for UCC in this game. But yes, but Connor Daly, regardless, had a very good performance from Clonakilty, very good display from him. Rory Murphy from Kerry also had a good display as well from a UCC point of view. From Maynooth's point of view against St. Mary's, it was a tight game, but they got over the line in the end. Connor Duke got 5 points, and we know how impressive Connor Duke was for me last year in the run to the All-Ireland semi-finals. Connor Gray got a goal as well. Owen Cully from Kildare got 4 points. Harry Plunkett from Offaly got 5 points as well. I'm sure Liam will tell us all we need to know about this guy. He seems a good player, I have to say. Yeah, it was a good win from a Maynooth point of view there. Queen's beating University of Galway. One player that really stood out in this one, Anton Tohel, that's Anthony Tohel's son. He's part of the Derry panel. He played AFL. I'd imagine Kieran Mina has to play him more now, especially with Kieran McFall leaving the Derry panel. I think he has to step up a bit more for Derry this year. He's a very, very good player. He got 1-1 in this game. And then UCD beating ATU Galway. And ironically, 2 of the UCD goals came from Mayo men, Niall Hurley and Dara Riley. Mayo boys going to college in Dublin. Who would have known?
It's common. DCU as well. DCU as well was full of Mayo people when I was in college. They're great crowd, great crack.
Definitely. And yeah, to be fair, UCD, the starting team they had is very, very good as well. When you look at their standout performers other than the Mayo boys, you Peter Duffy of Coola from midfield, he got the other goal in this one. And then Callum Bolton of Kildare, who we mentioned earlier on the podcast, from a Kildare point of view, and Leitrim's Paul Honeyman, who's a very good underage player for Leitrim as well. So UCD seem to have a good team there. But yeah, some interesting results there. I think the UL one probably stands out, and considering Ulster University lost the first game and there's kind of a disconnect between themselves and the county sides, could UL be a dark horse in this competition?
I think they definitely could, especially then. I seen that post about the team that they had in the Fitzgibbon Cup in 2018, and you look down the list and it's Tony Kelly, Sean Finn, Kyle Hayes. I think it was the most ridiculous stacked. John McGrath was on it as well. Like, it was the most ridiculously stacked college team I've ever seen. Peter says awkward breakfast in that table in that house. Put the 2 brothers. Jerome Kind does great coverage of the colleges and the LGFA. He absolutely does, and he's a gentleman. On top of that, like, I've had the pleasure of meeting him. He's a great guy. Peter says, I think Johnny Doyle is still managing Maynooth. Is there nothing Johnny Doyle can't do? I mean, the fella literally just ages like a fine wine. But yeah, we have further action taking place in the competition tonight. Just for anybody, the results will definitely be in by the time that you are finished watching this episode. But basically tonight, the Walsh Cup quarterfinal sees Wexford face Dublin and Owlet to Balla at 7:30. That one through in at the Walsh Cup Shield quarterfinal saw Laois go Carlow and Stradbally, and then in the Fitzgibbon Cup, UCC took on MTU Cork, and University of Galway faced UCD in Dangan at 7:30. So those 4 games all through in at roughly 7:30, and they are probably over by the time that you're watching this, but we don't have the official results yet, so we can't quite comment on them. But anyway, we are going to move on now and preview the massive action that we have from the club championships this weekend. Starting off, Matthew, with the All-Ireland Intermediate Football Club Championship final on Gaeltacht, going up against Glenullen. So Kerry against Derry in this final, Sunday at 3:30 p.m. in Croke Park. This one's going to be good.
Yeah, it seems to be a decent enough game, to be fair. Like, Gaeltachts have had a very good run to this stage, obviously from the Kerry Intermediate final against Fossa, beating them. Obviously dealing with David Clifford well. Bruno Biogley had a good game in that one. And then in the Munster Championship, the way they dominated Bullock in that Munster final, and then the dramatics of the semi-final against Salins to win that game after extra time, thanks to Eno Crahor's late 2-pointed free. Yeah, it's an interesting game, and Gaeltacht have a lot of, I would say, recognisable, I wouldn't say players, but a lot of recognisable names maybe, like Cathal Biogley, Rory Biogley, Brino Biogley is definitely known, obviously. being an all-star from Kerry. Ian Walsh, obviously an All-Ireland winner with Cork in 2010, and has performed pretty well this season for Gaeltacht under his new name, Ian Brannock, I think it is. So he's really, really done well as well. And obviously Ian O'Crohor, who is capable of a two-pointer, as we've seen last weekend in that game against Salads. And when you look at Glenullen, it's quite a, I would say, would you argue Gaeltacht probably are a younger, I know Aidan Walsh is there, but would Gaeltacht be a younger team than Glenullen? Like, you look at Glenullen, one of their main players, Owen Bradley, is nearing 40 years of age. I don't think,
he's still doing the business, man.
He's
absolutely defying Father Time. Like, he looks really, really good. It's kind of similar, like, with Aidan Walsh surely isn't. Aidan Walsh, I remember he won Young Footballer of the Year in 2010, didn't he? When Cork won the All-Ireland. He was Young Footballer of the Year that year. So he would have been, roughly 21 at that time. So I think, he'd probably be 35, 36 now. Yeah. So, he's definitely in the twilight of his career, but he's not, he's not 40, his 40s yet. So, and he's still very much doing a job for Gaeltacht. Brino Bjuglik looks immense at this level. Like, there's no question about it. Definitely, I would say, even more so in the intermediate championship and in the junior championship, is like, because you get players that are like inter-county all-stars, they can absolutely be the be-all and end-all now. Like, you've got clubs at the senior level, like, even you point to like Kilcoo and stuff like that, who haven't always had, players that would start for any team in the country, but they have 15 fantastic players. They have 15 really, really, really good players that, even if they come up against a club that has some absolute world beaters in the team, but not as strong of a starting 15, Kilcoo have usually come out on top. Whereas I feel like Brino Bjuglik, Aidan Walsh, and Aidan O'Crohor, they could make the difference. And Owen Bradley could make the difference for Glenullen in this game. Like, the margins will be even tighter between these two. And then on top of that, Peter saying here, Paddy O'Shea's son playing. I mean, again, the legacy there to be carrying. Like, there's nobody in Gaeltacht who has a bigger legacy than Paddy O'Shea. Like, that was in his beautiful documentary, where I think it was Micheál O'Muir-Hertig, the great Micheál O'Muir-Hertig, who said, when someone called him and said Tá'rí Imethe, which just translates to "our king has left us" or "our king is gone," and then he knew exactly who they were talking about. Like, they were talking about Paddy, who was taken from us tragically way too soon. It's a really, really proud club on Gaeltacht, and I mean, you're way closer to it, literally geographically you're way closer to it, but just how passionate are these people about their football?
They seem to be very passionate. I wouldn't say close geographically now, like Gaeltacht, Dingle, around that area is very, very far.
You're closer than me anyway. You're closer than me.
I'll put it that way. But yeah, to put it into context, I have cousins from Kerry, and I think they're an hour or maybe two away from Dingle and Gaeltacht. That's how far away it is in Kerry. I'll put it that way. It's right on the coast. It's a lovely area, obviously. It is a lovely area, to be fair. But yeah, they live and breed football around there. They obviously have a thing that's kind of, would I say, I might say this might be a bit disrespectful, I suppose, to yourself, obviously, Seamus, and the other Gael Gores. It would probably be a bit unique in a way. They actually speak to each other in Irish during training, apparently, this Gaeltacht team. Other than Aidan Walsh, who doesn't speak a word of Irish, apparently. That's what he says in interviews.
That probably is unique, to be honest.
It's quite cool, isn't it?
It's really, really cool. Like genuinely, because when I was when I worked at the Comórtas Pelin na Gaeltachta with TG Cahir over the summer, and it was my first time being at a competition where all the teams were speaking in Irish to each other out on the field. Like, it was pretty cool to see. There was one team, I won't name who, but there was one team that didn't really have that much Irish, but the rest were all Lífás Gaeilge, and it was a very, very different experience in terms of, like, because you go up to people at the end maybe to do an interview for social media bits, behind the scenes bits, stuff like that. And you know, at the time, you know, you'd be asking like, ain't chance to Elaine Gaelgoguts, and you didn't even have to ask. They all had Irish. Like every single one of them had Irish. And I tell you what, if you want to have a good weekend, come out to Spelling the Gaeltacht, so there's some crack at it. Like the minute the game's over, it's everybody's out having a good time. And yeah, no, it's great fun. Peter here says Aidan was chatting to Wooly, and he was saying the WhatsApp group is Oscailga, and he has to use Google Translate. That's very good. I think our good friend Dan Matthew went to the meets with him as well. I've seen a couple of clips of Aidan up on Sports Joe as well, so I'm going to guess that was Dan that was at it. But yeah, no, Aidan seems like a gent. He always comes across really well. If we had to predict, looking at how they've come to the final, who would you be leaning towards?
You'd probably go towards Gaeltacht, but to be fair, like Glenullen had a very good win against Strokestown last week. Owen Bradley got 2 points, but when you look at the other main scores, Ryan McNichol got 2 goals and 1 point from play. You would imagine, considering that performance in the semi-final, Gaeltacht will have to come up with a plan to try and stop him. But then again, I think Brina Bjogli was missing last week against Salins, if memory serves me correctly. So if he was missing, and if he's missing again this weekend, that's a huge loss. And I've seen one of the comments there, Colin Bjogli might be missing as well for this game. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game to call. I think Gaeltacht have beaten probably better teams on their run. The likes of Castleisland Desmonds, the likes of Killarney Legion, of course, Fossa with the likes of the Cliffords. Ahabullock would be a decent enough side there as well. And Salins, with the players they have, the likes of Luke Killian and Dalton and all them players are very serious for Kildare as well. So you would argue, I would say Gaeltacht have played tougher opposition than Glenullen, I'll be honest with you. So for that reason, I'm going to stick with Gaeltacht. But I think the injuries, depending on how many there are, it could be a factor. We don't know though, but it could be a factor in this game. But I'm going to stick with Gaeltacht.
Yeah, thanks to Owen O'Connell there coming in. I found it in the match report there. Brian came on with 20 minutes to go. Like, there's no doubt he's a key difference maker. I have to be honest, I didn't fancy Gaeltacht. I didn't fancy Glenullen to get past Strokestown. I genuinely looked at it and thought Strokestown, Roscommon senior champions a couple of years ago, a very, very difficult Roscommon championship to win. You've got Porrick McPherson in there. You've got St. Bridget's in there. Really, really strong teams. And Strokestown managed to come out on top. I was looking at them in the intermediate championship, and I genuinely was thinking, what the hell happened here? Like, how have they ended up here? But I was expecting to see them bounce back, and it's an incredible win for Glenullen to win the Ulster Championship as well. Owen Bradley still doing the business. I'm shading it to Gaeltacht. I think the battle that they had against Salins, yeah, there was the controversy around the free and everything like that, and it was very Dingle-esque. Sorry to bring it up again, actually, but yeah, there was it was very Dingle-esque with that late free, but the way that Aino Crahur nailed it was absolutely sensational. And the commentary on TG4 when he got it was epic as well. I absolutely loved it. I'm going on Gaeltacht by, I'm going to say 3 points for Gaeltacht. Shane here saying football and the Irish language are everything behind there. I'm from North Kerry and it's an hour and a half to Gallerus on Gaeltacht's pitch. Yeah, no, I've been down to Gaeltacht, like Gaelgogum. So I've been around to the different Gaeltachts around the country, and it's just a beautiful part of the world. Like, there's no other way to put it. It genuinely is like sunny southwest for a reason. But anyway, Peter says here, I hope Flano calls in. Salins is Keane Grimes. He had a super season for club. Absolutely. He looked absolutely brilliant. We are going to now move on to the All-Ireland Junior Football Championship Club Final. BallymacElligott taking on Clocker Era Og Sunday at 1:30 in Croke Park. Tasty one, this one. Is it Kerry going up against Tyrone?
It is, and I suppose like BallymacElligott, like Gaeltacht, it could be up against an Ulster team, but probably coming into this game as favourites, I would say, simply because they're from Kerry, they play some excellent football. And I did watch BallymacElligott against Buttevant in the junior Munster final, and I will say I was impressed by Butterman's performance against St. Nick's in the Cork Premier Junior Football Championship final. But then when I see Ballymcgilligan come up against Butterman, I was like, this team is very, very impressive. They have probably players, I would say, they're less known than O'Gaeltucht. And that's not a surprise because Ballymcgilligan are junior side and O'Gaeltucht intermediate, obviously. But they play football so well. I think they are a very, very good side in fairness. They do have some decent, like Niall Collins has played, I think, a few underage games for Kerry and a few schools games for Kerry. And every time I've seen this guy play, I've been very, very impressed with him. Adam Sheehy had a very good performance in the semi-final as well as that. You had Dar Broderick, Ian Breen, Donald Daly, Jack Joy, Martin McKeevergan, I think is how you pronounce that. So I think Ballymcgilligan have some decent enough players in the team. And the way they beat Grange Alva in the semi-final, it was 213 to 16 points. They beat them by a goal in the end. But they were very, very impressive in that win. And I suppose they've been driving, I would say it's been an emotional season for Ballymcgilligan, obviously with the passing, as we mentioned in the past few weeks, of Luke Sills, and obviously God rest him. And Ballymcgilligan have been on this run and doing every game really for Luke, and it's just been an unbelievable run from a Ballymcgilligan point of view. For Clocker Oak, they beat Kiltoyma 213 to 9 points in the semi-final, and a serious performer in that game in the semi-final was Kieran Bogue. He got 2-5, 2-4 from play. So again, I think Ballymcgilligan need to keep their tabs on this guy, considering his performance in the semi-final. You've Roy McCaughey there, who got 5 points in the semi-final. Rory McElroy as well. Not Rory McElroy, the golfer, obviously. Rory McElroy, the player from Clocker. And it's a different spelling as well. It's not an I, it's an E. So yeah, that will distinguish it. Connor Shields as well is a very good player from a Clocker. Point of view. And I suppose, like, I remember junior final a few years ago, it was Fossa against, I forget the name of the Tyrone team. And remember when Paddy Clifford and David Clifford was, shirt was torn everywhere, and the Tyrone boys were giving it to him, and then Paddy Clifford with the speech at the very end in Crow Park. That was Kerry against Tyrone that day. So I suppose with these the two clubs being from those counties, I think you get potentially a lot of fisticuffs. We'll have to see what happens at the weekend, but yeah, I think we're in for tasty enough encounter.
That was the speech, wasn't it, where Paddy basically said, "Oh, I don't know how I got a red card," and all this, like, in his speech. That was the one. I was like, that was one of the funniest speeches I've heard. Like, Shane says here, we have a couple of comments in about the game from Gaeltacht. He says Darryl Kinnaid's emotion after last weekend's game shows how much it means to them, and hopefully we'll have another full speech Oscailga on Sunday. And Owen says on Gaeltacht, they're a serious intermediate side. They have so much experience. Fancy them, but should be a great final. There's no question about it. Kerry stand at the door of an incredible achievement. Like, if their three clubs win the All-Ireland title, starting with the two that are going up this weekend in Ballymcgilligan and, of course, on Gaeltacht. Like, it was a couple of years ago where Ulster seemed to be winning everything. They won the FRC trial games when the provinces went up against each other. Tyrone were mopping up at under 20 and at minor level. And then, of course, the success at senior level, especially in the club championship with Glen winning the club championship, etc., etc. If Kerry on their own keep mopping up these competitions, I think that's even more impressive, Matthew.
It is, to be fair, and yeah, they seem to be getting a grasp of these new rules, don't they? Yeah, it's seriously impressive what they're doing at the moment. To be fair, I did probably worry more for Ballymcgilligan in the junior championship, considering the gradings are kind of degrading, if that's the word, for the junior grades at this particular moment in time, because the senior sides have to increase eventually. I think they have to increase. I was talking to Kerry going the other day, they have to increase to 12 or something. So that might have a knock-on effect in the next years for junior. And I thought it would already hit Ballymcgilligan, for instance. It doesn't seem to be the case this year. It doesn't seem to affect them at all. So look, they seem to be doing very well with these rules as well. They seem to be dominating in every facet in many ways as well. So yeah, I think Kerry are doing pretty well with these new rules as well. They seem to be enjoying football, and these are sort of rules that would entice good football, in fairness. And I will say it. I know I'm from Cork, and Kerry are the rivals, But I'd rather football this way than when Ulster were winning it, because when Kerry were winning it, it's good football, it's good on the eye. When Ulster were winning it, that All-Ireland final between Armagh and Galway, Seamus, that was the most boring 60, 70 minutes of my life, and I'll never get back. So I think Kerry, to be fair to them, as much as there are rivals and all that, they do play some excellent football, and you have to commend them for it. It's just excellent on the eye, and the way their clubs are performing, the way their inter-county teams are performing, it's going to continue long into the next few years.
I think, you can't deny how good the Kerry football has been. I don't think Ulster straight across the board was disappointing in terms of the quality. I think that Tyrone stood out as being a really, really shining example with the likes of Dara Canavan and everything. But the All-Ireland final itself was not very easy on the eye. And I think that was a catalyst that, like, okay, we need to change the game. Don't get me wrong, I was there. The atmosphere was absolutely amazing. The occasion felt huge, but the game was extremely cautious, extremely defensive from both sides. And the game did need to change. Like, there was no question about it. Attacking needed to be made more incentivized, because in 2024 and in the past few seasons before that, defensive solidity and being cautious and not taking risks and just trying to win the game no matter what, no matter how boring it was, that was rewarded. And now we're seeing a situation where attacking and being adventurous and going for it, that's being rewarded. And right now, on top of having a very good team, Kerry have probably the greatest footballer of all time in David Clifford leading their line. So there's no question about it. Porter here says, agree, new rules suit Kerry. And Peter saying Grange Nolan had some run for one of the smallest clubs and catchment areas you'd find. Shane B says Ballymac have been trying to get out of junior level in Kerry for about 5 years, getting to semis and finals, and finally got over the line this year, unfortunately at the expense of my own club. It's that time to call it, Matthew. Ballymac Elegate or Clocker Era Og? Which one do you think will get over the line in this game?
There's a bit of a team here. Ballymac Elegate, I think, will get over the line.
I agree with
you. Yeah. Sorry, Ulster.
I just think Kerry football seems to be on a roll. Like, I don't think anybody seems to be able to stop them. And on top of that, the way that Shane talks about it there, when you've been knocking at the door for so long, like from a dub, I seen it with Nafina, for example, that they were knocking on the door to try and get out of Dublin for so long, that when they eventually did get out, albeit they did lose to O'Loughlin Gales the first year in the Leinster final, but when they came out the next time, they steamed all the way to the All-Ireland. It's like, because you're right there, that if you finally get over the obstacle that has been stopping you time and time again, it can give you like a turbo boost of momentum that can get you through the next few challenges. And that seems to have been the case with Clocker up to this stage anyway. Switching codes, though, we're going to move over to the All-Ireland Intermediate Hurling Club Championship Final. We've got Cúilín going up against Upper Church Drombane Saturday at 5:15 p.m. in Croke Park. And this one is actually on RTE, if I'm not mistaken. Matthew, is it? Apologies. No. The games on Sunday. The games on Sunday are on TG Car. Sorry, strike that. They are not. The Saturday games are on TG Car as well. Yes. Apologies. They're on TG Car as well. Sorry, guys, for the confusion. Saturday, it's live on TG Car at 5:15 p.m. Throwing.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting game. This one, Cúilín have had, obviously, not just this year, but quite a good number of years. I would say they've dominated the Mayo Senior Hurling Championship. They had a tough final this year against Ballyhonest. They only beat them by 2 points, and they got goals in that game to get them over the line. They beat them 2-17 to 21 points. But then, since then, it's been a very good run from a Turin point of view. They beat 4 roads in the Connacht Championship. They beat St. Gabriel's. They hammered Malik Oyercourt from Galway in the Connacht final as well. That was an excellent win from their point of view. They hammered Aero Carrickmore from Tyrone in the semi-final as well. So look, I think Tyrone have been on a good run for a number of years. Like Shane Boland's got 3 goals and 38 points in this championship so far. Fergal Boland's, I think most of the football folk will know who he is. A Mayo footballer, obviously. Pretty good hurler too. 3 goals and 26 points from play for Tyrone in this championship. Owen Delaney with 2 goals and 21 points. Sean Kenny with 117. Liam Lavin 2-9. So they do have a plethora of Mayo senior hurlers, which is a very impressive thing to have, because Mayo were very competitive. I would say the Nicky Racker this year probably should have won it. And like there has been movements, I would say, for Tyrone to go up to the senior level to face, like, say, Thomas's or Lochray or somebody from Galway to get some competition in Connacht. If they win this intermediate title on Saturday, I do think there's definitely an argument for having Tyrone in the senior championship, in the Connacht championship next season. So it should be very interesting to see. They're facing an Upperchurch drum band team that is on a good run of form themselves. Luke Shanahan's got 62 points in this campaign so far. Gavin Ryan's got 1 goal and 22 points. Paddy Phelan, 217. Conor Fahy, 2 goals and 11. Pat Ryan, 2 goals and 10 points. Paddy Green, 15 as well. So, look, they have some good scores in this season's campaign as well. And when you look at the results, they beat Ballinhassig, which I didn't expect they would do, to be honest with you. I thought Ballinhassig would come over that, given the Munster Championship. They beat O'Callaghan Mills, they beat Danesford from Kilkenny, they beat Carrick Swans quite comfortably in the tip final as well. They had a few hiccups, I would say, the tip championship. They drew against Moneygall on the first day out, but ever since then, they've gained momentum, Upperchurch, and they have been in very, very good form since then. It is an interesting enough stat to note as well. Upperchurch's average winning margin is 4 points. Tyrone's average winning margin is well over the 10 mark. I think it is 6-9. It's 15 points, I think it is. But when you look at Tyrone's opponents, they played in the Mayo Championship and the Connacht Championship, and obviously Carrickmore in the semi-final, compared to Upperchurch and the opponents they played, the likes of Danesford, the likes of O'Callaghan Mills, the likes of Ballinhassig. You would say Upperchurch had played tougher opposition, and you would say that would get them a better stake going into this final. But I think the Pures would probably want Tyrone to win this game, because they want Mayo hurling to improve as well, and they want a competitor for the Galway champions. But this Upperchurch team, they've proven time and time again, especially that semi-final against Danesford, the battling qualities that they showed, that they are not a team to take lightly at all.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I am a hurling purist. I want to see this team rise up. I want to see Tyrone. I want to see Easkey, teams like this rise up in the Connacht Championship, and I want to see it go all the way to the point where we have a Connacht Championship and we have an Ulster Championship at the inter-county level as well. Like, that's the dream. That's the North Star. So the more that can move in the direction of happening, the better for the entire sport. So there's a part of me that's rooting for Easkey to get over the line. There's a part of me that's rooting for Tyrone to get over the line. And you know what? I'll go with Tyrone. I think that they've been performing really, really well. Yeah, and Fergal Boland especially has really caught my eye. I mean, the fella is, like, under the radar as one of the most talented dual stars in the country. Like, he wouldn't get the credit for that, but, like, he is absolutely fantastic. When he switched over to the hurlers, he's one of the leading lights in the county. And then with the footballers, he's absolutely brilliant as well. Once he came back to the panel under McStay, he absolutely tore it up. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tyrone to get over the line in this one. And that brings us swiftly on to the All-Ireland Junior Hurling Club Championship final. Kilbrittain of Cork going up against Easkey of Sligo, Saturday at 3:15 in Croke Park. And this one is also live on TG Car. Give us your preview for this one, man.
Yeah, big preview in this week's Southern Star. This game, 7 pages of this, so a lot of content this week, just to get that out there. Go to the shops and get the e-paper as well. A lot of action for this game in the paper this week. But why wouldn't there be, Seamus, when you have a West Cork team in an All-Ireland final, potentially? Like, I think the last West Cork male team to win an All-Ireland, I think, was Carbery Rangers back in the mid-2000s in football, I think. So Kilbrittain are trying to bridge a 20-year gap here in terms of West Cork clubs. So it's going to be it's going to be a historic occasion, whoever wins this game. In fairness, like Eastgate have done well themselves in promoting Sligo hurling, to be fair as well. Look, this Kilbrittain story, they've been absolutely outstanding throughout the whole championship. For the Davis Court, the Cuddy game in Clonmel, where they played in horrific conditions. Back to the game when they played against Barry Roll, their rivals in Clonakilty in the first day out in the Cork Championship in sunny conditions. They've had a really, really long road, and this has been a memorable journey from everybody involved in Kilbrittain. Joe Ryan's been absolutely excellent in charge of this Kilbrittain team. Mark Hickey, 1 goal and 68 points. Luke Griffin, 3 goals and 12 points. Conor Hogan, 3 goals and 10. Each and every one of those guys have been heroes in this Kilbrittain team. Joshua Donovan, Bertie Butler, Philip Wall, the captain. They've been absolutely incredible. And I think Philip Wall, obviously there was a Star Sport podcast interview. Kieran McCarthy interviewed Philip Wall, the Kilbrittain captain. Checked it out, we had already. I think Philip Wall said it off the ball this week that West Cork is a county within a county. So look, that's some quote, I have to say. But
isn't Cork a country within a country? I mean, you can say the same about Dublin as well.
You could maybe. but yeah, it's brilliant, to be fair. And obviously Philip, he's got a bit of tips from the likes of Jamie Wall and Kate Wall, his siblings who have played in Croke Park. Obviously, Kate played there only a couple of weeks ago for St. Finbar. So look, I think they're well ready for this game. Hopefully, they'll get over the line. The very best of luck to them. It is a massive occasion for Kilbrittain and everybody in the community there. For Eastgate, they have a certain player who's done absolutely incredibly in this championship. In the club championship, Andrew Kilcullen, Sligo Inter-County player, star player for Eastgate. He scored 15 goals and 77 points in this championship.
That's incredible. I saw that. I thought it was a typo. I was like, what? I was like, surely Matthews added on a 1 there. Surely it's 5 goals and 15 goals to have at this stage. And the final isn't even over yet. It's ridiculous.
It's unreal. It really is. He got 4 goals in the semi-final as well against Burt when they won after extra time. But this has been a good run from Eastgate point of view. Finian Cawley's got 2 goals and 15 points as well. And what about Finian Cawley? I listened to Rachel Sheehan's interview with him about off the ball during the week. He grew a mustache for November, and he hasn't shaved it off since for good luck, apparently.
I love it.
That's incredible. Thomas Cawley, 13 points. Patrick Walsh, 1-6. Corbin Verker, 1-5. So they do have some excellent players, Eastgate, in this team. They've had one tough game against Ballinasloe, but other than that, they've been absolutely whipping sides to the sword in this championship so far. So yeah, it's been a good run from an Eastgate point of view. I think the Hurley Purists, again, like Terrain, would want Eastgate to win this game. But because, I can't back against Kilbrittain, can't I? Because I'm from near that club, but I'm not from the area, within the area of Kilbrittain. I'm from very near the area, and hopefully they could get over the line. So I'd have to back Kilbrittain, haven't I? I'm going to go Kilbrittain to win it.
I'll go Kilbrittain as well. I'm going to go with you. I think we'll have a bit of peace and harmony on the show. John Doherty says John Doherty 4976. Sorry, he says, I have a feeling Limerick will beat all around them in the hurling in the summer and win back the All-Ireland. That ruthless efficiency and skill and physicality they had from 2018 to 2023 is back. Peter saying they played well last night, blend of youth and experience. Peter says Kilbrittain by 5. And says Porter says that's the greatest Munster team, Limerick, with the manner of that Dublin defeat, and for the first time in a long time, Tip matched them last year. It's a really interesting. They're in a very similar position, I would say, to where Kilkenny were at the beginning of 2014, where Kilkenny had won their All Irelands in the 4 in a row up until 2009, then back to back in 2011, 2012, and then Cork beat them in the qualifiers. I remember in 2013, where Henry Shefflin got sent off. Hoggy had a class game for Cork, I remember, and there was a feeling in that game that was it for that Kilkenny team, that they were done. Like the way that they went out of the championship so early. They fell off the championship at nowhere that year, but then they bounced back and they won the next 2 All-Ireland. So you'd be stupid to write off Limerick given the players that they still have. But they have to, and I'm sure that they have had a long look in the mirror after that Dublin game, because they were so bad that day. Dublin were really, really good as well to turn them over, especially with 14 men. But Limerick, it gave the impression, I remember watching that day, like they were all waiting for someone else to save them. They were all waiting for someone else to do something to save the game. And they just let Dublin, outmuscle them, take the game over, especially in that period where Dublin got 2 goals in quick succession from Cian O'Sullivan and John Heatherton. I don't care though. It's the greatest day in my life as a hurling fan, that win. Or the Leinster title win in 2013 was also one of my favourites. But I just didn't see that coming at all against Limerick. It was one of the great days. But you would be stupid to write them off given where they were. And like Liam Cahill's Tipperary, they were in a much worse position, I would say, this time last year, given the hammering that they got off Cork, and they seem to be absolutely miles away. And yet here they are now, 365 days later as All-Ireland champions. So anything can happen in this game, but that is where we are going to wrap it up. We are just going, before we talk about it quickly, Matthew, is there any other pre-season competition games that you're keeping an eye on this weekend?
To be fair, probably from down here, I am going to the game on Sunday between Cork and Limerick in Páirc Uí Rinn. Obviously, Cork beat Tip during the week. A lot of people actually complained about John Cleary's starting 15, I would say, in that game. He played a very strong team, 15 starters more or less from last year. Stephen Sherlock was on the bench, Brian Hurley was on the bench. They all got unleashed against Tip, and they won the game 129 to 10 points. And Tip didn't have much of a team out. So look, but look, I think he's stopping his authority, Cleary. I don't think Cork are stopping their authority on this as well. They play Limerick on Sunday, a game I'm going to. I think they should get over the line that game, and Kerry play against Waterford as well, which I think they'll get over the line that one as well. Now, I think the Kerry footballers want a bit of a revenge for their hurlers after Kerry hurlers got absolutely thumped by Waterford during the week as well. And look at, I suppose the other games, yeah, look at some of them here and there, like Offaly beating Meath in the O'Byrne Cup was a turn up for the Bucks. Westmeath beating Louth as well. But they're early season competition, Seamus. You can't really say they're shocks and thereabouts. But yeah, some, I would say, interesting lineups and interesting scoring tallies and things like that over the last few weeks. But ultimately, you can't read too much into these games.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think it's always like a bit of a guessing game. It's like a giant shadow boxing competition. You don't want to give away too much, but gems can be found. There's no question about it. Like Niall Scully kind of broke onto the scene with the Dubs footballers through the O'Byrne Cup. Sean Fitzgerald for Galway got his first run out in the FBE League. Like, you can find yourself a gem in this competition, no question about it. But anyway, we'll see what happens over the weekend. We'll see if there's any more coin tosses or if anyone has to warm up maybe on the back of a bus this time. But anyway, that will wrap the show up there. Thanks to Matthew for jumping on with me. And thanks to anybody that got involved in the comments or tuned in throughout the show. You helped to make it a very, very enjoyable one. We'll be back on Sunday at 8 p.m. with the live weekend review show talking about the games from the weekend. And also we have that special something for you, a live in-studio show previewing the National Leagues of 2026. It's going to be pretty good, pretty cool. And we will see you all there. But until then, ta-ra.
Instinct, baby. Follow your instinct.